Canelo Alvarez responds to Jake Paul. Welcome back to our fabulously famous channel. Today we will be talking about Canelo Alvarez response to Jake Paul. But before we get started, subscribe to our channel to never miss any updates. So without any further delay, let's get started quickly. Jake Paul seems to be overconfident about his boxing skills. Yes, he really does, and apparently he made it obvious. You're not getting it, right? Well, let me break this down for you. On December 6, 2020, Logan Paul, who happens to be Jake Paul's older brother, and Mayweather agreed to fight in a match played on February 20, 2021. However, due to reasonable inconvenience, the fight was postponed to June 6, 2021 and was held in Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida. Talking about the fight scenes, Mayweather started regularly and defended, intervening a lot and avoiding a lot of Paul shots. Whereas by the end of the first round, Paul unleashed a beast flurry, but most of his punches were blocked by Mayweather guards. However, the second round was similar to the first, with Mayweather points with a slower pace of combat. You can't just deny Mayweather's skills and professionalism. He finally turned to break in the third, opening with some clean left that shook Paul's head back and mixed in his unique pull with his right hand. From 4 rounds to the front, Paul saw weakness and used all the time to apply his heavier weight by tying a smaller Mayweather up into the room after exchange. Despite Paul's constant attempts to break Mayweather's offense, the latter continued to slow down the attack and the ground was clean, the punch more. By the end of the 8th and final 8th, Paul revealed when he was convinced that he had done enough to avoid being stopped, as most had been injured, and that he would have survived to hear the last bell. As many of you already know, the battle was all 8-round distance and no announcer. Mayweather's best athlete was affected by the CompuBox punch stats, with Mayweather landing 43 punches at 107 throws, 40.2%, compared to Paul's 28 landing at 217 throws, 12.9%. While talking about the post-fight interview, Mayweather praised his opponent Logan Paul, saying, "He was better than I thought he was. He was tough and competitive." On the other hand, Logan Paul seemed intimidated with Mayweather when he stated, "I'm going home thinking, will Floyd let me live?" To be honest, in my opinion, the fight between Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather was all hype and nothing more. For a player like Mayweather, it is an injustice to not announce him as a winner while he almost knocked out Logan Paul in the game. Moreover, looking at the match recap, it can be clearly said that Logan Paul was in the ring just for the sake of survival and not actually appropriately playing the game. I mean, come on man, we get it. The player has to defend himself from his opponent, but when the defense continues to 8 rounds, it doesn't just make sense. People actually paid for the match. All they asked was for a fair game and entertainment, but the game turned out to be the flop one so far. Logan and Mayweather not only disappointed their fans, but the entire boxing community, while the one happens to be Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez was disappointed about the fact that the match ended with announcing any winner, where Mayweather already was a winner for the game. Taking his disappointment to Twitter, he tweeted about the same, but Jake Paul got a problem with Canelo's tweet. Jake Paul sent out a warning to Saul Canelo Alvarez after the end of Logan Paul vs. Floyd Mayweather. Jake Joseph Paul is an American YouTuber, internet personality, and a boxer apparently. Talking about his career growth, he began to rise to fame on Vine.
"Sorry, Kirk, but thanks to Paige, I'm not doing dangerous dares anymore. Only safe ones."
Before playing the role of Dirkman on the Disney Channel series Bizaardvark for 2 seasons. Throughout his career, Paul has become the subject of much controversy over his behavior, including risk-taking and age-old material on YouTube, being fired by his Disney TV movie Bizaardvark, and was charged with trespassing. Talking about Jake Paul's boxing career, it all started in 2018. Paul's first fight was a match against Deji Olatunji, younger brother of YouTuber KSI. From there, Paul left Olatunji at TKO and quickly went from novelty to professionalism. After the victory, Paul became a legit pro and his next fight was against another YouTuber, and Essen Gibb. It only took a couple of minutes for Paul to TKO Gibb, and since then he began to blossom. His next fight was against former NBA star Nate Robinson. The fight became a sensation. Not because of Paul pranks or antics, but instead of the illegality that sent Robinson to La La Land, and the former Nick found himself on the wrong side of meme immortality. Whereas his ultimate fight is never without his conviction as a fighter. His opponent is a real fighter with real MMA titles. Paul fought back against the recent defender Ben Askren in April this year and took the lead in 2 minutes. Coming back to the point, Jake Paul called out Canelo after tonight's blockbuster PPV. The headliner fight went a long way when Canelo tweeted a facepalm emoji ridiculing the whole affair. Alvarez's obsession with a mega fight seems to have offended Logan's younger brother, Jake Paul. Baby Problem responded to the Spanish boxer on Twitter, criticizing the Spanish boxer for his inability to sell pay-per-views. Well, it looks like young Paul will never run out of business with super average competition around the world. You cannot sell PPVs, I will eat you alive, Jake Paul wrote in response to Canelo's jab on Twitter. As the name implies, the bragging rights, the need for Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather showdown ended with the opposition not getting their hands up. Paul used his greater abilities and clinched with money to evade the boxer's backfighters. Overall, the small size difference played an important role throughout the 8th round. Fighting may have a dramatic ending, but this small fight can really stand the test of time in a fighting game as already discussed. Yes, it's got really good money. It's one of the best things I've ever done. It's a very big decision. See, all over the world. It has to travel far with more than millions of dollars. Its validity is in the millions already. But in addition to all the other extras, the payoff is really good, he said.
How much money could you reasonably walk out of this fight with?
350 million.
$350 million.
Yeah.
While many reports claim that Mayweather owed $10 million plus 50% of the pay-per-view, where Mayweather will be paid $35 million, which is Paul at least $5 million. However, Jake Paul will be in a tough fight with no one other than MMA rights Tyron Woodley next. The contest to make the most memorable matches will run until August 28, 2021 under the Showtime banner. Talking about Tyron Woodley, he is a former UFC welterweight champion. Woodley has reached 4 consecutive defeats in the UFC. Following his recent departure to Vicente Luque of UFC 260, the only choice has come out of the promotion ranks. After Woodley sought a free trial of the organization and landed an episode with Showtime to the YouTube box, he heard Jake Paul in the 4th round of the show. Well, it all sounds interesting and exciting to us, as it would be epic to see Woodley and the YouTuber fighting each other. Besides, will we be able to see the show off between Canelo Alvarez and Jake Paul? If yes, who's gonna win the show? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. So that's all for today's video. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit like and subscribe to our channel Fabulously Famous. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section.